Hello everyone and welcome to Cisco Collaboration Learning Group and also on the Cisco Collaboration Learning Series YouTube channel. My name is Amit Singh and I would like to thank every one of you who have joined the group to learn to know something new about Cisco collaboration technology. So today we are going to discuss about something very interesting, which many of you maybe think is useful in your day-to-day operations, especially during this pandemic situation where the customer needs to have a lot of phones, a lot of devices created for work from home, So yeah, sure. Today we are going to discuss about the bulk line and CSF device creation using the Postman API. So we are going to create line in bulk. We are going to create CSF device in bulk, and then we are going to associate them with the end users and then see how it works. So if you haven't seen how do we create a line or CSF, please visit my last videos or please watch my last videos wherein you will be able to watch all the stuffs. How do we create lines and CSF using the Postman API, and how do we send a SOAP requests and receive a response. And then this would then be a real helpful video for you guys when you come back and watch this video. So let's get devnetified. Let's get started. All right, so let's start and let's see how can we create uh, the CSF devices in bulk, and how can we create, um, the phones in bulk or the lines in bulk, right? So first things first. So first we'll be creating a line, and then we'll be creating the devices. So we'll create lines in bulk, and then we'll create the CSF devices in bulk. So I'm using SOAP UI to, generate or just copy the SOAP request, and then I will remove all the unwanted lines that we don't need while adding a line, and then we'll be creating a bulk request. Let's see how it happens. So what I have done basically is just copied all this text for the add line from the SOAP UI, and then pasted it into the notepad here, and then I've just removed all the lines that I don't need while I create a pattern. For example, yeah, you don't need AAR settings and a lot of other settings, so I just removed all of them, and then I have made some short SOAP request, and I have then created a collection in Postman where I said, okay, I need to add a line, and I need to add the line in bulk. So it's just a name, add line bulk. I've created one. I just did a copy. I did a duplicate, like this, and then just renamed this request. So, okay. And then in this add line bulk, what I did was I added uh, the authorization header. I said it's basic authorization API user, and this API user. If not, please watch my first, second, third videos. You will get to know how do we create this API user and why is it used. Basically, it's used to authenticate the SOAP requests that we send across to a Cisco Unified Communications Manager. And here we add the headers that are needed while sending the SOAP request, because SOAP requests, one of the important parts is the SOAP headers, and then here you specify what you want to do. You say CUCM colon DB, and then the version of the SOAP request, or the CUCM, you say 12.5, because I'm using CUCM 12.5, so it's important. And then I say what is the API that I'm using. It's add line request. Okay, and my content type is application/JavaScript. Now this body part is very important because last time if you see the body is different than the body here. What do you mean by this is we will define something called as a variable. Okay, so we here create something called as an environment variable, and the way that you define the environment variable is within this double curly braces. So opening curly braces and then the variable that you have to define, environment variable that you have to define, and then closed environment, sorry, the curly braces. This is how you define the variable inside a postman. All right, now this variable you have to define somewhere else, right? So that position is nothing but here you go to manage environments, and then you can define it as a global variable or a local variable. I'm using it as a global variables, and then here basically you will say what are the variables that you would like to define. So in my case, it's like I think I will use the variable dn to define a directory number, and then I will use a variable dndesc to define the dn description, you know, and then um, this is we can leave for now because this is for the next request, and then we will have this alert one variable, and then I have created a variable called as alert two. All right, so I've just created four variables. So remember for now that we have created four variables here, so you just have to type in dn and that's it. That's how you define an environment variable. And dn you can type in anything, it's not compulsory, so you can even type in directory number or whatever, so but for now I'm just saying it as a dn, so it's just whatever you want to define it as, so I would be using these four variables, and then I'll say save, close, and then these variables will be used here. So for example, if you have to define a pattern, I'm using a variable dn inside the opening curly braces and closed curly braces, so two. That's important, not one, two curly braces. See here. And then for description, I'm saying it's DNDESC, and then the usage is device. It's same for all the lines, so I'm not changing that. I'm using the same route partition for all my directory numbers. So this is the provisioning partition that we created in our last videos. I'm using the same provisioning partition that we created using the API. So you can have a look at my previous videos, and then you will get to know how do you create a partition using Postman API. And then as the DNs will have a different alerting names, so I'm defining this as different variables. So for alerting name, I said alert one, and for ASCII alerting name, I said alert two, again within the same curly braces and open curly and closed curly braces. Okay, and this is also optional, but I thought that's important because you use allow control of devices from CTI. I have set it to true, and that's it. Once you have defined there the once you have defined here the SOAP request, now you have to provide the values of these variables. How you could do it. Basically, what you have to do is so this is how you create one Excel sheet so that you could import those details inside the Postman application, for all those variables. So let's say um, I want to have, so the first row you have to define the variables. So first column dn is the first variable that we created, and then I think the second was yeah, dn description, dndesc. This is the second variable that we define in Postman. And then the third variable that we defined was alert 1, and the fourth variable that we defined was alert 2. So let's now define the values for these DNs, and then I say, okay, My first directory number is 5001, 5002, 5003, 5004, 5005, right? And then I give a description, whatever you want to. I will say user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, you know, and then I will copy the same description to the alerting names, ASCII alerting name and the alerting names. So this is how you define um, or put the data, and then you should save it as a .csv file. And after saving this as a .csv file, it should be a comma separated file, you know. So sometimes what happens is you don't have a comma in between and you have some issues. So make sure that you have, for example, saved it as a .csv file. So for example, I have saved it here as a .csv file. Okay, so now once the file is created or the information is entered here, let's import this file using the Postman runner. You know, so you just have to select the collection. I'll select this folder inside the collection one. That's my collection, and then I will click on run collections or runner, and then I will say I need to have collection one line add bulk. So I will remove add line because I'm using add line in bulk request. And then here I will say data select file, and then I will say add line bulk, and then it will automatically show you that it's a text slash CSV file. And then the good part is that you can see how your data looks like, if it's parsed correctly or not, and then you can, you know, make a change in the CSV file if needed. Let's preview it, and then here you see that it's very beautifully parsed the way we want it. So these are the variables that we define in the CSV file, and these are the values of those variables, and using these variables we will create 5 lines in just 5 seconds. Now let's see how it happens. Okay, I hope everything's fine. And then you see iterations was automatically 0. Now it is automatically set to 5 because there were 5 rows inside the CSV file, and then it selected the CSV file, and then we'll just say now run collection, and then let's see what's the output. Okay, so it gives you an error because I have already created these lines before just for testing, and I've deleted that. And now let's try once again. All right, now you see we have a 200 okay back from CUCM. That means the line has been created. Okay, sounds good. And then let's see what do we see in the Cisco Unified Communications Manager. Let's log into the Cisco Unified Communications Manager here. And now here you see that let's say find all the directory numbers that begins with, sorry, that begins with 500, and bingo, you have 5 lines created. All right, let's see if they have the correct information. We'll just check one, and then hopefully the rest should be fine as well. So they have the right partition, right description, alerting name, you know, and then probably, yeah, this is what we have just added, you know. And here I think that's for no, not really. Okay, all right, good. So we have created the lines. Let's move ahead and let's see how can we create the CSF device. So for CSF, you just have to go to SOAP UI and then go to look for add phone request. So here's your add phone request. Just copy everything here, and you could remove a lot of optional things here. For example, this is optional, you could remove it. These are optional things, remove it. It's as per your need. Whatever you want to keep it, keep it. Provide the information, build a request, and then send it across via Postman. So for example, I have built a request here, and in this request, I have last time not used couple of things, so this time I'm using couple of more things. I have cleaned up the request that I copied from SOAP UI, and then added some more inputs, like for example, if I have to associate the end user with the line, and the busy trigger, for example, the maximum number of calls and busy triggers. So I have put in some more information to make it a little bit more um, looking like it's for production or something, not only for lab. We can use it for production. So the request is already built. Let's have a look here, and then yeah, same way I have created a request for an add phone bulk request here. So with a lot of variables, because for example, if I have to add 5 devices, so what I did was, for example, for name of the device, I said I will use the variable dev name, you know and for example, device description, I use def disk as device. You can use your variables, it doesn't matter, x, y, whatever, but make it meaningful so that you guys can understand what variable it's all about. And then I use the same CSS that we created last time, Postman CSS, because it's the same location, for example, and same location wants to have 5 users created. And then device pool, I kept it default. And then line label, we have created a variable, line variable, and then line display again with the curly braces. This is how you define the variable in Postman. Open curly braces 2 times, and then closed curly braces 2 times. And then you need the n for directory number, that's the pattern. And then I'm using the same partition because usually in a company, not all the directory numbers will have different partitions. So the phones will have same partition so that they could call each other. And then I have a variable for display ASCII value, or the display name of the phone. And then I set max number of calls 2, busy trigger 1. And then I set the end user. I haven't shown this, but I have created also the end user via bulk. Maybe if you want, I can put the SOAP request so that you guys could use it. you know and yeah, by the way, I will put this SOAP requests or these collections in the GitHub soon, and I will let you know the links in my descriptions. If you want, you can come back and have a look. And then here in the SOAP request, I said, okay, allow CTI control or allow control of device from CTI. I set it to true, and then I have the owner username. That's important for licensing. I said the variable will be own user. And then the same way, you go here, manage environments, globals, and then here you will say, okay, I just created already, so I'm just using it again to show you guys. So I had to practice before I could uh, provide it to you guys. So device description, we need it. Device name, we need it. We don't need alert 2. We don't need these variables because this was for creation of a DN. So we are using def name, def description, line label, line display, DN for pattern, or the directory number, and then line ask display for ASCII value, and then the end user and own user. So these are the variables that in environment variables or the global variables that we are going to use in our SOAP request for a bulk phone creation. All right. Okay. So let's just save it, close it, and then we are going to create the same file like we created for the directory numbers. So here we are going to say, I think we don't need all this information, so we would have to see this. What are the variables we are using? I think def name, def disk, so def name, def description, and then line label, line display. So line label, line display, and then we have some more variables here. So dn and then line ask display. So dn line ask display, and then you have, I guess, end user and own user, right? So end user and own user variables. So let's define those as well. So end user, own user. Now let's just describe the device name. So I will say CSF user 1, CSF user 2, CSF user 3, CSF user 4, CSF user 5. So this is how the CSF device name. And then description, I will say, okay, CSF or Jabber user 1, and then Jabber user 2. I guess there was something intelligence happening here. Yeah, see here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here you'll say user 1, user 2, 3, 4, 5, and then line display the same way. You can just copy them here, and then the DN would be 5001, 5002, 5003, 5004, 5005, and then you could just copy the names again for your user if you want to, or you could put in something different if you want. And then end user is the user ID. So I have created the user IDs like user 1, user 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that's intelligence in the Excel. All right. And then you can use the same end user IDs and then put it inside the own user variable, and then just save it as a CSV file, and then we will import this CSV file. So once you save the CSV file and open it again, it should exactly look like this with the comma separated values. If there is any issue, the postman could not parse it, and then it would create problems while you send the requests. All right. Once this is done, let's go to Postman and let's add the phone in bulk. So here we have the body of the request, you know, and here we have the authorization. I said API user and the password. It's the same header that we are using, and in the body inside the raw, I just pasted the SOAP request with the variables, and then I will say run collections, and then I will select what collection. So I will say I think better phone, and then I will say not add phone but add phone in bulk. This is what I've created. And then I will say import the file or select file, and then I will say add device CSF bulk. And then here you see the data file type is text CSV, and then iterations are 5. So it automatically understands that there are 5 phones that needs to be created. And then you could preview your request, and then you see here the values. All right, so it seems clear to me, and there is no issues. And once you have created it, you could just say run, and it's just you see here running 5 iterations, and then voila, we get 200 OK for each request. And there was no problem in creating a request, or sorry, in sending a request and then creating the object inside the Cisco Unified Communications Manager database. So now let's see if we were successful in creating these 5 phones in just few seconds. We just go to phone, and then we go to find the device name, where device name begins with CSF user, I will say, so that we just see 5 phones that we have created. And voila, here you see we have CSF user 2, 3, 1, 4, and 5. So let's see inside this user if the line was associated and if the ASCII names and the end user associations were right. All right, this product type is correct, that we have used Cisco Unified Client Services Framework, and this is the device name, CSF user 1. This is the description that we gave, and this is the CSS that we assigned to the device, Postman CSS. And then we said owner user ID has to be user 1, and then it has taken. Cool. Seems interesting, you know. I am excited when I'm talking, and that's something saving efforts when doing the bulk creation, you know. At least I could suggest this to my other colleagues in level 1 and level 2 teams so that they could make use of this, you know. So here you see the DN5001 was associated with this phone. This line was associated with the provisioning partition, PT partition, and the description. This is the alerting name, that's correct. And here you see that it's associated with the CSF user 1, and even we said that allow control of device from CTI, and there is a checkbox. So that works, that really works, and that's really worth. So you could also change these values, for example, assign voicemail profile or whatever you want to, even call forward settings and everything. So it's really handy. And then here we said, okay, that should be the display name, and then that should be the line text label user 1. Wow, wonderful. And then we set maximum number of calls 2, busy trigger 1. It has taken those values as well. And then here we said, okay, associated with this user 1.user. So I mean user 1, and it has associated this with the user as well. So I think that was quick enough. In if you practice and make a template, you know, and you could automate these stuffs, it could really make your lives easier, and then you could not spend, I think, just for creating, at least you would need 5 minutes for creating one phone. And if there are 5 phones that you need to create, you know, it's still, if you do a copy and paste, still you need to change a lot of things, description, device name, and let's say directory numbers and display names and all those stuffs. So rather than doing those stuffs, I think work smart, you know, make use of some automation stuffs that Cisco has provided indirectly or directly, and make life easier. All right, just let me know, guys, how was it? I hope this would be useful, at least in today's situation where customer has a lot of requirements coming in. So that would be helpful to him as well. And I guess you could make life easier, work faster, smarter, and improve your knowledge about the technology on Cisco collaboration. All right, I thank you guys, and we see us again in the next video where I'll be talking about, I will be talking about how do you manually create the Cisco Postman API requests, and then we take it from there. All right, I thank you guys once again, and see you next time. Until then, thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.